regular meeting of Aurora Housing Authority for November 16, 2016 to order. Roll call, please.
Bill Powell,
Present.
Melanie Windley,
Commissioner Wimble is on our way. They're right out. That's kind of cool, right?
Jazz.
Commissioner Wimble is on our way.
Ray Cruz,
Commissioner Cruz is out of town. He won't be here today.
Scott Morris,
Here.
Joe Grissom,
Here.
Laquita Haynes,
I haven't heard from Commissioner Haynes. I expect she's on her way.
Lynette Garcia.
Present.
Okay, approval of the minutes of regular meeting of October 26, 2016.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion and second. Any questions? Not. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public comments? All right, review of financial reports.
For the month of October, the Housing Authority had about a $33,000 net profit. So year to date, we have a $296,000 net profit. So we've been kind of chugging along at a pretty good rate. Especially this late in the year. Usually we've kind of started. We start out usually with a pretty sizable loss and kind of build back up. This year's kind of been the opposite, where we started out with a profit and we've kind of held on to that profit throughout the year.
Hey there.
With that profit, obviously, as we've said a couple times now, we're headed into REACT season. The majority of the expenses for the REACT upgrades, we're going to try to utilize the capital fund for as much as we can. But there will be an increase in maintenance expenses related to our efforts, obviously, to continue the improvements to our REACT score. So this number 296, I would expect it to kind of close the year around 200, 150. It's kind of where we expect to be, and that's still a relatively sizable profit for our agency. We don't generally see profits about that size throughout the end of the year. So it's still, I think, a pretty good positive.
And at the end of the year, do we as a authority care if we have show profit in the low-income housing and then a loss in the voucher program? Do we care, or is it at the end of the day, is it one?
We care mainly because you would prefer the profit be split evenly, or both programs have a profit. So in this situation, where the public housing program has a profit, the Section 8 program has a small loss. It's not troubling in the fact that the Section 8 program's loss, 70% of it is related to the HAP that we send out, and that's just driven by how much money HUD gives us and how much they don't. They do make us whole, so next year we'll actually receive more funding for the Section 8 program for the HAP side. The admin side, we'll just have to make the adjustments internally. Both we'll review our allocation. We'll also have to see what items need to be maybe taken out of operations to ensure that we're not exceeding our budget authority there. But ultimately, it's a good year. It's probably better to have the money in public housing than Section 8, simply because if you noticed throughout kind of the years here, we've had HUD cut back our Section 8 funding. So it's a little bit better in public housing, and it, I think, kind of drives more programming for us too on the public housing side. Any other questions on the financials? Any questions on the list of bills?
Okay, departmental reports.
Just two things. As we go into the holiday season, there's a little bit less overall activity. You'll see a lot more vacation, so there's just not as many people around. There's not as much going on. As we mentioned, we have really started really headstrong into the REACT. I know Jim's crew has been really getting the preventative stuff going, and they've kind of been digging into going unit by unit, assessing the status of our units for REACT. We're also going to do basically a pre-REACT inspection. We did this the last couple of years to just kind of give us a point-in-time picture of the condition of the unit, so we can go from that and use that to kind of focus our efforts on areas that maybe need more of our time and potentially more of our money. So the big drive between now and March, when we'll be actually inspected, is going to be REACT. So it's going to be, you'll hear a lot more about that as far as our operations are concerned. You'll see a lot more of it in the board reports. Any of you who have the app, you'll start to see some of the push notifications. We're just going to be really pushing the REACT inspection piece. The goal is to score similarly to the score that we got on the family sites last year. What it would create for us would be an ideal situation of rolling inspections. Family sites will be 1 year, high rises will be the other. So there's still inspections, making sure that we're doing the job, but it's also not so much work that needs to be done at one time. So that's the overall goal. We're hoping to hit those numbers. I know I'm putting a little pressure on Jim and Carlos here, but I honestly think, we succeeded last year. I think we can have the same success this year. But obviously the real goal is to make improvements, whether it's incremental or large, one-time improvements. But we do expect to see just a lot of work in that area. The other item, and we mentioned, I think I mentioned it last month, we are starting the fiscal year 2018 operating budget. To a certain degree, we kind of internalize that. I'll go through a lot of the current spending, kind of combine it with our plans for next year's spending, any programming changes that we have, any opportunities where we may be bringing in more revenue or planning to see less revenue. All of those things will be captured. And we'll also have, I think we've done in the past, some sessions for the board, smaller group sessions where you guys get to have some input, see what we're planning and talk about that. I know Jessica yelled at us if we don't follow the open meetings rules. So I think I can only have like 2 of you, right? Is it
Yes,
2? Okay,
2.
so there'll be small groups, and we can even spread the sessions out. But just so you guys have an opportunity to have some input into, the budget process, but also an understanding of what we're setting as both goals and expectations for the agency for next fiscal year. Are there any questions from me? Right.
And at the top of your page there, you see the waiting list numbers. We currently have 531 public housing applicants. HCV has 89. Project Base has 517. Our occupancy department did issue a few vouchers for the 2 voucher programs off the waiting list. Caseworkers did 35 annuals and 30 interim certifications. And there was a few recoups on there for just over $3,000. Ross staff members did take applications for LIHEAP at 2 of our family sites. And down at the bottom there, you see some of the different activities going on at the various sites. Any questions?
The Housing Trust Voucher Program completed 69 interim exams, 46 interims, 6 moves, 6 new admissions, and 4 portability movement transactions. The remainder of the report just shows the HCV HUD graded CMAP indicators. So there are 5 indicators that HUD monitoring on a monthly basis based on what we submit to them. And in each of those indicators right now, we are meeting or exceeding the goal for the year.
Good.
Any questions for Keyshawn?
So that's a monthly thing that we do?
It is.
So are you adjusting yet?
I think so.
Alright.
A month in.
Yeah.
Well, we're in the process right now of winterizing the building stuff. I hear it's gonna be 70 tomorrow, so caulking on the mortar will be able to play a lot better. We also started some outside work along with our inspections. Mr. Burry said we're in the process right now of going into each unit at both the high rises right now, and we've got half done, and we'll continue to do that. This is a time of the season where a lot of people don't use their ovens and stuff, so we've learned in the past now that we do pre-inspections on all ovens and stoves just in case so we don't have a rush. We have finished all our inspections. As you can see, the list of all people that and agencies that do our inspections, and everything is passed and everything's ready for the following year. And just that's pretty much it. And just on behalf of the technical staff, we just wish you a happy Thanksgiving, eat a lot, so we have a New Year's resolution for next year.
Any questions for Jim?
Thanks, Jim. The old business. The new business, I just want to take the opportunity to welcome Yanette to the board. We've been having fun. But it'll be they just joined, so this year's been a little bit, funny for us. We had a couple, one resignation, I think, and, two resignations. And, then we lost a board member because his time was up, so, you know, just dive in there, don't be afraid to ask any questions, you know, Keith is always available, you know, even during the week or something, if you have any questions, you can reach out and give him a call and really get up to speed. I don't know if they got a chance, to see the training that's coming up, you know.
I think both commissioners are scheduled to go on. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's great. That's
Yeah, Keith and I, we met on Saturday, 8 o'clock, was it 8 o'clock
Yeah,
or
it was
something
early.
like? I'm up at 4 o'clock most all, you know, even on weekends, but nonetheless, we met and I had a chance to talk to him about the board and staff, and so I very much like what I hear, and I'm excited to be on board.
And Commissioner Haynes, we'll actually have to schedule an appointment to do the same kind of meeting where you just kind of get you up to speed on things. You can ask any questions you want to ask, and we'll tell you all where Maria keeps all the bodies. So. 13 acres, these are something.
Fertilizer.
All right, new business, resolution?
Resolution 1609 is the approval of the fair market rents for 2017. We do this once a year. HUD actually sets the numbers. You guys got the attachment that goes with this. HUD actually sets the numbers for us based on the metropolitan area that we are in. To our benefit, we are actually lumped in with Chicago, so we actually end up with pretty high fair market rents. I mean, they relative to some of the areas near us, they're a little low, but for Aurora, they're actually relatively high rent, so it's actually not a bad number for us to use. There is a potential change. Keyshawn and I were talking earlier today. HUD has issued a final rule on something called the small area fair market rents. According to the rule, the Chicago metropolitan area is included in this new regulation for fair market rents. What it does potentially is decrease the fair market rents. Now, we don't believe this is going to affect fiscal year 2017 because they've actually already issued final numbers for Chicago for 2017. But there is a reality or a potential reality where we may have to adjust what we're paying out going forward. And we'll have to really assess how that'll impact residents, you know, how that transition happens. But HUD generally will soften the blow on that transition. If somebody's currently in housing, will probably maintain their current rent amount. But you know, until we really have guidance from HUD, we can't really say for certain. But I just want you guys, you know, so if you hear it, you know that it is something that may impact us. And given, you know, we're not really sure how long it will be before that goes into effect.
So if that were to happen and someone's in a lease and all of a sudden the amount of reimbursement goes down, you're saying they would hold it?
It wouldn't go down right away. So say, you know, we actually get word from HUD that we have to implement these on April 1st. There's going to be a time frame, more than like 2 years, where people will see their rent stay the same. It wouldn't be an immediate drop off. And honestly, there are a variety of different reasons why they can't just drop the rents. I mean, it would create turmoil basically for us.
Right.
So there would be a phase-in period. And again, the final rule, it just came out today, and I just happened to catch it in the email and start to read through it. So I really don't expect it to go into effect until 2018, and then we'll have that time to assess, one, the impact, and two, how to best transition over to it as well.
And then if we have, so just kind of a refresher for me, but so if we have units that are being rented, and 3-bedroom, and last year was at $14.94.
Mm-hmm.
If that landlord is ready to re-up for $14.94, does Aurora Housing Authority still go in and say no, it's now $15.69? And is this like,
We'll gladly give them the $14.94.
Well, that's what I'm just saying. How's it work in terms of like reality?
I'll let Keyshawn kind of go into the
So
details.
just in terms of because if if I'm a landlord and I get 5% rent increase every year, I'm loving life, you know.
Well, every year the landlord can put in to get an increase in the rent, and then we have to compare it to the rents that are actually being offered in this area to comparable units and determine how much we're being offered.
So would reality be that landlords are under these rates or at these rates, or how many?
Currently, they're probably under.
So if someone's under and they submit for $1,300 and they could have submitted for $15.69, they just get approved for $1,300.
They could, if the other comparable units around here are only being rented for $1,300, that's all they would get.
But I guess my question is if our number is willing to go higher, does Does that mean they automatically get that, or do they?
No.
This is more of a maximum. Like, it definitely, nobody can get a rent higher than this amount from us.
So that doesn't mean it's gonna be,
I just-
it's just jacked up to.
What- Like 4 years ago, when we started with this, these numbers were a lot lower,
Mm-hmm.
and, I mean, it would almost be like, this is like the secret piece of paper, if like the landlords knew they could get 1569, they'd be.
Well, I think to Keyshawn's point, don't get me wrong, they do, I mean, these are public numbers, they're aware of them, but again, we make a determination whether or not your 3-bedroom unit on the east side of Aurora is actually worth, $1,500. So we actually look at, like she was saying, we look at a variety of the comparable sized units in the same area. And if they're only renting for, say, 1,300, you can't ask for 15, you'll get 13. They'll get an increase, sure. I mean, they can get 2 or 3% increase because that's what the market is doing. But it's driven by the market.
Okay.
So I guess to kind of finish, this resolution allows us to set these as basically the maximum rates for fiscal year 20 or calendar year 2017 that would go into effect on January 1st.
Sorry. No. So are we finding now that the rates are getting more and more competitive, that we're able to get better housing options for?
I would say the true indicator of how competitive we've become is through the number of developers that come to us wanting to do development deals. If our rents were set below market, they wouldn't come to us because then they wouldn't be able to finance the building. So I think that's really a barometer of how in line these are with the market. In some areas, sure. I mean, a maximum of 1,500 for a 3-bedroom in certain areas on, say, the east side or even the west side is too much. And in certain areas in the far east or in the north end of town, it's not enough. That's always going to be the game that we play. But I think the real test is, when developers are coming every year saying, hey, we want to use your vouchers, we want to do these programs, that really says to me that our numbers are really in line with the market.
Motion?
Just want to make sure I got the right motion in front. Okay. Which one are we doing, 1609 or 16? Make a motion that we approve resolution 1609.
The motion is second. Any other discussions, questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? None. Resolution passes. Resolution 2016-10.
Just leave that on blank.
So Resolution 1610 is the approval of the 2017 annual plan. We do, again, both of these resolutions are more, just kind of standard practice. You guys kind of have to, we don't have to sign them, but they're just kind of things we have to do every year around this time. I believe you got a draft copy of the annual plan. There are really no substantial changes to things that we've been doing from the past. And the annual plan, it's not a 5-year plan. When we do the 5-year plan, that really lays out a lot more of the strategic things that we're trying to do. Next year's annual plan really is a continuation of the programs that we've traditionally had, well, not traditionally, but programs that we've had in the past, continuing the tiered housing, continuing scattered site housing development, continuing to use our vouchers to participate in innovative programming throughout not just the city of Aurora, but the region as well. In the past, we've talked about some other things we may research and look into. We've posed discussions about new kinds of development, term limits on housing, a lot of different things that we've put on the table. Those are also continued in the plan. We will continue to kind of research and advance those. Anything in the plan that we may decide to do still has to come back before the board for an actual approval. This just allows us to send this information into HUD with you guys saying that you do understand what's in it and that you basically approve of what's in it. Another caveat to this, I was just talking to Rick Guzman this morning. This actually goes to the city. They read through it and make sure that it's in compliance with their annual plan as well. So it's really a draft piece of documentation that allows us to basically give HUD guidance on what we're planning on doing for the next 12 months.
So it says, under new activities, it says units with approved vacancies.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing. So none of the other developments would classify as new.
That's one of my questions.
Well, again, essentially what we're saying is that's the only thing that's changed from the previous year. So the items that we had from last year continue over. We've already been approved to do those.
And my whole is just to hold them until you get them up to par?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we've taken a lot of units, now we've taken an approach, there's some units that are just really in need of modernization, and Maria will tell me sometimes there are units that haven't been modernized in 10, 20 years. So it's not just I'm gonna send a maintenance, or Jimmy's gonna send the maintenance guys in there, and you're just gonna paint and turn it around. These units need floors torn up, walls, new drywall, new roofs, they need everything. So it's a matter of us, we've been trying to kind of get some volume, instead of just doing one, you know, get 3, and even get better pricing on doing the entire project.
That's what's gonna be my next question, like, so the hold can be up to how long?
It really depends. Some of these units have been offline for a while anyway because they're really not rentable. But we can hold them. I mean, we've seen units even before my time. We used to hold units a lot longer. We used to have vacant units that were vacant for 60 days. So that's our general time frame is around that. But remember, that's a 60-day complete gut rehab of a unit versus just a 60-day unit turnaround. So it could be longer. It really is driven by A, the amount of work that needs done, and then B, you know, the pricing that we can get things done at. If Carlos knows that we've got 4 or 5 others coming up that he can bundle, we'll do that as opposed to just, you know, doing one because it's available.
How many do you project for the 2016 year?
How many major turns do we do in a year roughly?
From modernization, I'd say probably about, Carlos can probably confirm, but probably between 5 to 10. I mean, and as Mr. Gregory said, it could be a variety of different things. It could be, I know a few years back, I don't know if Mr. Gregory was here or not, we had a few that we had to bring in contractors to pull old tile that had asbestos in it. So obviously that's gonna take something that we're not qualified to do. So those are gonna take a little bit longer, a little bit more, you know, to get them done. There's some, we're taking them down to the stud just because, you know, holes and repair after repair, it just wasn't cutting it anymore. New kitchen, new bathrooms, that kind of stuff, it just really depends on what we have going on with that particular unit. Each one we take a look at case by case.
So the mods are the ones that are extensive like
Mhm.
this versus just new carpet and everything else is fine.
Right.
Got it.
And these are also the units that ultimately become part of our tiered housing plan too. Because once we end up going that far, we generally tend to bring in the tiered program into those units just because they're available. Instead of us having to potentially wait for a unit that's just somebody's moving out, we can actually take a unit that we were gonna have to do the work anyway and make that an upgraded unit. So it's been, you know, it kind of gives us an ability and a little bit more flexibility inside of developing and furthering that program too.
So these units can be in either a scatter site or family site?
Yes.
Other question, from B1 about the financial resources change from year to year, see attachment. Do we need to see that attachment or like, well, what's that about?
Oh, I apologize, the attachment wasn't there. The only adjustment is the difference in the money that HUD gives us. It's just a listing of our funding sources. I'll make sure everybody does get a copy of it. I apologize that wasn't added, but it's not up to us, it's just the listing of the funding that we have available from HUD.
Did it go up or down?
For next year, it went up just a little bit. Are there any other questions?
Any questions?
I'm sorry, I guess anything that says, please see attachments,
I'll make
did
sure
we
you guys
get any of them? Cause I don't.
I didn't know,
think
I sent what David sent me, and I
Okay.
apologize, I didn't know the attachments
Okay.
weren't part of the whole thing.
Yeah, cause, like, for B4s, were there any findings in the most recent audit? And then the answer is yes, and then see attachment for the findings. And so I was just wondering, did I miss that part?
No. I will, actually, and if you guys want, and I apologize because I didn't get these to you. If you want, this can wait until December so that you do have an opportunity to review the attachments. It doesn't harm us to wait another month to kind of put this one through.
Yeah.
Any other regular business?
No, sir.
If not, I would like to go into executive session
Yeah, give a reason.
for
second?
I need a motion, I need a motion.
Oh, I'll make the motion, we move to executive session and discuss executive director's review.
Aye, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you.
Having fun?
Having fun.